I dashed into the classroom at the last second, sprinting as if in a 100-meter race. After sitting down, I suddenly felt that the classroom was eerily quiet today. At this time of day, the classroom is usually as lively as a marketplace, with people handing in homework, copying assignments, eating breakfast, and gossiping. Why is everyone today acting as if they've been hit with a freezing spell? Strangely enough, almost everyone had a mysterious smile on their faces, their eyes drifting as they stared into the air. A few others were gesturing in front of them, as if operating an invisible touchscreen. Are you all possessed? I whispered to my desk mate Tina. Tina jolted suddenly, as if startled by my voice. Then, he shook his head stiffly. No, not at all. The homeroom teacher Bob tapped the blackboard. I have an announcement. There will be a surprise exam next Wednesday, covering all the content from this semester. The classroom instantly erupted in cheers. I almost slipped off my chair. What's going on? Although our class 7 of grade 12 isn't exactly a camp for underachievers, we shouldn't be this excited about an exam as if we'd won the lottery, right? Quiet. Bob also had a look of utter disbelief on his face. Since everyone is so enthusiastic, let's add another set of practice papers. Another round of cheers erupted. I looked around suspiciously and found the campus heartthrob Frank staring at me. When he realized I'd noticed, he immediately averted his gaze, but I clearly saw the corner of his mouth twitch, as if he was holding back a laugh. As soon as the class bell rang, the students gathered in small groups, whispering secrets to each other. I pricked up my ears and faintly caught a few words. Mission, points, rewards. Tina, what kind of mysterious activity are you all up to? I grabbed my best friend who was about to slip away. Tina avoided eye contact. It's really nothing. I need to go to the restroom. With that, she ran off as if fleeing for her life. Just as I was wondering what was going on, someone suddenly bumped into me from behind. The class sports committee member Jim walked backward while bowing and scraping to the air. Understood, reciting the text while doing a handstand. Right, I'll get it done right away. He then executed a neat handstand and began reciting. Preface to the Pavilion of Prince Taylor, in the hallway. Drawing gasps of astonishment from everyone. They've all gone mad, completely mad, I muttered to myself, packing my bag to head home. Just out of the school gate, someone suddenly grabbed my backpack strap. I turned around and met Frank's face, which was so handsome it defied both gods and mortals. It said that the love letters he received could fill an entire locker. He lowered his voice. Luna, you actually don't have a system. What system? Frank showed a look of sudden realization. As expected, you're the only one in the class who hasn't bound it. I looked completely confused. Speak human language. He glanced around to make sure no one was paying attention to us, then quickly explained. This morning, the whole class received a binding invitation to a top student system. Completing tasks earns points that can be exchanged for ability values. But the system's first task is to isolate classmates who don't have the system. I widened my eyes. So everyone's strange behavior today was all part of completing system tasks, but I think there's something fishy about this. Be careful. After saying that, he hurried away. I stood alone at the school gate, feeling as if the whole world had turned surreal. No wonder Tina hesitated to speak. No wonder my classmates were acting so strangely. Wait, why am I the only one without a system? Could it be because I arrived at school just in time this morning and missed the system distribution window? I took out my phone to check out this top student system. Suddenly, a message popped up from Tina. Luna, I'm going to hand you a friendship breakup letter tomorrow, but it's required by the mission. We're still best friends. Please remember that. I was speechless. Wow, this system is really playing some fancy tricks. I dreamed I had turned into the filling inside a pancake, being eaten in turn by the whole class. After waking up with a start, I found a pink envelope lying quietly beside my pillow. On it, written in highlighter, were the words, Letter of Severance. Tina, are you serious? I shouted into the empty dorm room. Opening the envelope, I found a sticky note inside along with the formal breakup letter. The task required handing it over in person, but I chickened out. The system said this still counts as completing the task, just with half the points. Holding the breakup letter, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Suddenly, the phone rang. A message from an unknown number read, waiting for you at the school gate. Frank, the school heartthrob just revealed the system's secrets to me yesterday, and today he wants to meet privately. Could it be that the system has issued a mission to eliminate non-system personnel? I deliberately arrived at school 20 minutes early and found Frank already leaning against the wall playing with his phone. Sunlight filtered through the plane tree leaves, casting dappled shadows on his white shirt. Girls passing by kept turning their heads to look at him, but he didn't even lift his eyelids. I kicked a pebble away. Morning, don't tell me the system sent you here to assassinate me. Frank curled the corner of his mouth slightly. The system has issued a new task. He showed his phone screen, which displayed a few lines of text. Daily task: ensure non-system user Luna remains isolated. 0/3, reward, 5 points /person, special mission. Make Luna lose face in public, optional, reward, 20 points plus random attribute point. I sneered. Wow, I'm worth that much. So how do you plan to deal with me? Splash milk tea on me in public, or spread the photo of me buying breakfast in my Pikachu pajamas? Frank turned off the screen. I refused the mission, but others might not. Just as he finished speaking, Tina's figure appeared at the school gate. She visibly froze when she saw us, then she drifted past us with an awkward, stiff gait. Like a human-shaped AI, Frank lowered his voice. See, refusing tasks will deduct points. If your points hit 0, there's a penalty. What penalty? Yesterday, Mia refused a task, and she suddenly started dancing to Little Apple during class. I couldn't help but laugh. I remember, the physics teacher's face turned green. The first period was math class, and I couldn't help but observe my classmates. The top student in the front row kept, accidentally, dropping their pen, asking me to pick it up for them. The boys sitting behind me deliberately passed notes around me, avoiding me entirely. Even the usually kindest Chinese class representative gave me a "don't come near me" look when handing out assignments during the break exercises. It was even more exaggerated. Within a 3-meter radius around me, an automatic vacuum zone formed. I stood alone in the middle of the playground, looking just like a human-shaped lightning rod. This is way too obvious. I couldn't help but complain. Frank stood not far away, frowning at his phone. I quietly moved closer to sneak a peek and saw a red light flashing on his screen. Warning, host has repeatedly rejected tasks. Cumulative penalty. Tomorrow's morning reading class will involve reciting "Saying Goodbye to Cambridge Again" while standing on your hands. Frank noticed me watching and quickly locked the screen. I was holding back laughter so hard my stomach hurt. Do you need me to help you record a video? The campus heartthrob doing a handstand would definitely go viral, he said seriously. Luna, haven't you noticed how strange all these tasks are? Before I could answer, the broadcast suddenly emitted a piercing static sound, followed by a mechanical voice. Urgent group task: win the obstacle relay race in PE class. Reward, class points plus 10, failure penalty. 10 randomly selected students will imitate gorillas in public. The entire playground instantly erupted in excitement. I stared in astonishment as my classmates suddenly turned to me in unison, their eyes gleaming like hungry wolves. Wait, you don't mean? The sports committee member Jim rushed over in one swift step, grabbing my hand. Luna, you absolutely must join the relay race this afternoon. It turned out that group tasks required everyone's participation, including me, a non-system user. Watching Jim almost drop to his knees, I grinned and said, "Beg me." During afternoon PE class, the neighboring class watched our lively training session and muttered, "Did class 3 take the wrong medicine? It's just a relay race." But they're acting like it's the Olympic trials. Frank was elected captain and was drawing tactical diagrams on the whiteboard. Luna will run the second leg, where there's the most challenging low net crawl. Her petite build gives her an advantage. I raised my hand. The person in question is right here. Just before the race started, the system suddenly popped up a notification in everyone's minds. Special note: if Luna causes the team to lose the race, the reward points for everyone will be doubled. I felt a sudden prickling sensation on my back as if countless eyes were fixed on me. Frank frowned as he scanned the crowd, then walked up to me and said, "Listen, no matter what happens later, don't stop." After the race started, the first runner from our class took the lead. When it was my turn to take the baton, I suddenly noticed that someone had scattered thumbtacks under the low net. Someone must have done this to slow me down. How despicable! Hypocritical exclamations rose and fell around me. I directly grabbed the nearby cushion, laid it over the thumbtacks, and slid through with a beautiful slide tackle. In the end, our class won by a narrow margin. When the system prompt sounded, the expressions on everyone's faces were quite dramatic, a mix of joy and disappointment, all twisted together. Task completed. Special note: due to the outstanding performance of the non-system individual, the reward has been increased to 15 points, Luna's favorability +1. After school, Frank stopped me at the bike shed. "Leo scattered those thumbtacks today." I widened my eyes. The class monitor, a top student like him would pull such a trick. the system amplifies the dark side of human nature. Frank handed me a piece of paper. I've compiled the patterns of system tasks, which might be useful to you. The note was densely covered with records of task types and time points. I was about to express my thanks when I suddenly heard sobbing coming from behind the bushes. Pushing aside the shrubs, I saw Tina squatting there, crying as if her heart would break. "Tina, Luna, I'm so sorry." She rushed forward and hugged me. "The system just issued a new task, asking me to put laxatives in your water cup." After I refused, it made pimples grow on my face. She pointed at the large red swelling on her forehead. "Tomorrow, I have to read aloud the love letter I wrote to the class monitor in front of everyone." Woo-woo. Frank and I exchanged a glance and spoke simultaneously. "There's something wrong with the system." On the way home, I kept pondering Frank's last words. The system is collecting something. The rewards it gives might not be as simple as they seem. The streetlights suddenly flickered, sending a chill down my spine. If the system really has some conspiracy, I'm the only non-system person in the class who can act freely. I looked at the message Tina sent on my phone. "The system is making me spread rumors about you cheating again. What should I do?" I gritted my teeth and replied, "Let's play along with its scheme and see where it leads." As soon as the alarm went off, I sprang up from the bed like a carp leaping out of water. But I ended up tripping over the tangled blanket and falling flat on my face. Hiss! I rubbed my sore knee, grimacing in pain. I was brushing my teeth while scrolling through my phone when I saw a message in the class group chat. What? I spat out a mouthful of toothpaste foam. In the class group chat, the homeroom teacher Bob sent a notification. According to the Academic Affairs Office's notice, the originally scheduled monthly exam for next Wednesday has been moved to this Friday. Please be prepared, students. The group chat was filled with harmony. "Thank you, teacher, we will definitely work hard." Completely unlike usual, Class 3, which would usually be filled with lamentations at the mention of an exam, I scrolled through the screen and saw a message sent by Tina at 2 a.m. in the message list below. "Urgent, the system has released an SSR-level mission. Anyone who defeats you in the monthly exam will get double points. The whole class is pulling an all-nighter to study right now." Attached at the end was a photo. Leo's desk was piled with half-a-meter-high reference books. As if he were building a great wall of knowledge, I ran into Frank in the hallway. He was wearing a dark blue hoodie today, which made his skin appear even paler. "I heard the monthly exam is being moved up. Didn't your system leak the questions in advance?" "The system only gives tasks, never answers." He suddenly lowered his voice. "This morning's new task is very dangerous." I was about to press for more details when a sudden commotion broke out from the other side. Leo was seen approaching with several boys in tow, their aggressive demeanor reminiscent of gangsters swaggering down the street. "Frank." Leo stopped 5 steps away and adjusted his glasses. Even when bullying others, he still insists on maintaining his top student persona. "The system shows you rejected the task again last night. Right now, you have the lowest points in the entire class." I instinctively moved half a step closer to Frank. "What's it to you?" Frank's voice was cold. "Of course it concerns me." Leo suddenly grinned. "The system just opened the points trading feature. I bought your punishment notice. Tomorrow during morning reading, you have to recite saying goodbye to Cambridge again while doing a handstand, right?" A burst of laughter erupted around us. My hands trembled with anger. "Leo, have you finished your math homework yet?" "Of course I have," he said, looking wary. "Is the answer to the last question 3 square root 2? Clearly, it's..." He suddenly stopped, his face turning pale. "Are you trying to trick me into talking?" I grinned like a mouse that had stolen oil. "Oh dear, it seems the system didn't tell you. Bob added extra math homework in the group chat last night." Leo frantically pulled out his phone to check. The boys behind him were already wailing as they rushed toward the classroom. Frank looked down at me, his eyes sparkling with tiny glints. "You're quite professional at lying." I proudly shook my head. "That's called wisdom. But are you really going to perform a handstand tomorrow?" Frank grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the fire exit. Once we reached a blind spot for the cameras, he finally let go. "The system is upgrading. Today's mission is to defeat Luna in the monthly exam for double points. But there's a hidden condition. Is Adam's apple Bob bed? If no one in the class can defeat you, the system will forcibly reclaim everyone's points." I widened my eyes. "So now the whole class wants to kill me." Frank pulled a notebook out of his backpack. "I've compiled key points for all subjects. Study them over the next couple of days. As long as you rank in the top 15, their mission will fail." I opened the notebook and found meticulously organized notes, with key points highlighted in different colors. Suddenly, it dawned on me, wait, why are you helping me? Aren't you afraid of the system's punishment? Frank lowered his eyes. I hate being controlled. The class bell rang. Frank turned to leave, but I grabbed the hood of his sweatshirt. Wait, about that handstand punishment tomorrow, that's all right, I blurted out. No, I'll help you handle it. Frank raised an eyebrow. How to solve it? Like giving Bob laxatives in advance so he takes a leave. Luna, just kidding. I waved my hand and ran into the classroom. Wait for my good news. All day long I lived in the strange atmosphere where the whole class seemed determined to beat me in the exam. The most annoying part was that during lunch, the cafeteria auntie gave me a chicken drumstick that was noticeably smaller than everyone else's. This system has even infiltrated the cafeteria. I held up the malnourished chicken leg in protest. Auntie, this is way too obvious. The cafeteria lady avoided eye contact. What are you talking about, young lady? All the chicken legs are the same size. After school, Tina secretly slipped me a note. Leo formed the Anti-Deer Alliance. They plan to use system cheats to interfere with you during the exam. P.S. Frank has been warned by the system. If he helps you again, he'll face a level 2 punishment. I clutched the note, lost in thought. Suddenly, an idea struck me, and I turned to run toward the school's back gate. The next morning before self-study class, the classroom was filled with an eerie sense of anticipation. Leo and his crew had already snagged the front row VIP seats, and someone had even discreetly set up a phone. When Frank entered the classroom, all eyes instantly focused on him. He walked over to me with a calm expression and asked, "So, what's the solution you mentioned?" I gave a mysterious smile and pointed toward the lectern. The morning reading bell rang, and the homeroom teacher Bob entered the classroom right on cue. He was followed by the principal and 3 Education Bureau officials. "Class, we have a random teaching inspection today." Bob's face looked even more strained than someone suffering from constipation. "Everyone, please focus on your morning reading." Leo's expression looked as if he had swallowed a frog whole. The entire morning reading session was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. No one dared to pull any stunts like reciting poetry upside down under the watchful eyes of the leadership. Frank gave me a thumbs up under the desk. I shot back a smug look that practically begged for praise. As soon as the school bell rang, a system notification exploded in everyone's minds. Punishment task failed to execute due to external interference. Compensation mechanism activated. Host Frank must publicly humiliate Luna before school ends today. Failure penalty, 24 hours of blurred vision. Frank suddenly clenched his pen tightly. I secretly glanced at his profile and noticed his jawline was as taut as a fully drawn bowstring. Tina secretly told me this news. I poked Frank's arm with my pen cap. "Why don't you just do something simple, like saying there's a leaf in my hair in front of everyone?" "No." His voice was as hard as a stone. "Then you're going to become half-blind." Frank turned to look at me. "It's worth it." That word set off fireworks in my mind. 10 minutes before the school bell rang, Frank suddenly raised his hand. "Teacher, my eyes aren't feeling well. May I go to the infirmary?" Bob was about to nod when Leo interjected with a sarcastic tone. "Isn't this just an attempt to avoid the punishment task?" Frank calmly took off his glasses. "My pupils are already starting to lose focus." I craned my neck to take a look. Good grief, he had actually strained himself so hard that his eyes were completely bloodshot, looking as if he had suddenly fallen seriously ill. Under the stunned gazes of everyone, Frank fumbled around packing his bag and accidentally knocked over Leo's water cup. Before leaving the classroom, he used the motion of closing the door to wink his left eye very subtly in my direction. I lowered my head to hold back my laughter. I noticed a note on the ground, which must have been accidentally dropped by Frank just now. It read, "Meet me at the school gate at 7 a.m. tomorrow, I'll show you something." I tucked the note into my textbook. In a class where everyone is under a spell, there is someone who would rather go half-blind than harm me. It's not too bad, I suppose. 7:15 in the morning, 15 minutes past the agreed time, and not a single soul, not even a ghost, is in sight. Just as I was considering whether to send 100, stand someone up and get struck by lightning, emojis to Frank's phone, something lightly poked my back. Whoa. I jumped and turned around on the spot, almost bumping into a white cane. And Frank wearing sunglasses. You really can't see." I waved my hand in front of his eyes. He accurately grabbed my wrist, just blurry, not completely blind. He handed me a paper bag. Breakfast. Inside the paper bag were 2 steaming egg pancakes, the aroma of scallions wafting straight into my nose. I took a big bite and asked indistinctly, "So what are you going to show me?" Like the blind men touching an elephant. "Follow me." Frank tapped his way forward with a white cane. Moving with the practiced ease of someone who'd been blind for a decade, I followed him to the small storage shed behind the laboratory building. This place had been locked up for years, rumored to be filled with abandoned memories of youth left behind by generations of students. It's just unwashed sportswear and expired snacks. I was stunned when Frank pulled out a key. Where did you get that key? Is it some kind of superpower the system gave you? I had it made last year when I was the lab administrator. He pushed the door open, and dust danced in the sunlight. There are no surveillance cameras here. The warehouse was filled with clutter, but the central area had clearly been cleared out, with several school desks arranged to form a workspace. The walls were covered with photos of our classmates. And beside each photo, densely written notes were scribbled. It's like a nest of some creepy stalker. I leaned in for a closer look and realized it was everyone's system task records. Tina, March 5th, refused task, punishment was burping in public for 10 minutes. Leo, March 6th, exceeded task requirements, received a temporary memory enhancement reward. Jim, March 7th, I scratched my head. You're monitoring the whole class. What kind of Yandra behavior is this? Frank took off his sunglasses, his eyes as red as if he hadn't slept for 3 days and nights. I'm looking for system patterns. He pointed to a complex relationship chart on the wall. All tasks ultimately point to one goal, to socially destroy me. I stared at my own photo in the center of the chart, marked with a bright red cross. No, it's about collecting emotional energy. Frank's fingers traced along the lines. Every time a mission is completed, the system absorbs the emotional fluctuations of the host and those around them, especially, he paused, your negative emotions have the highest value. The egg pancake in my mouth suddenly lost its flavor. So this thing is an emotional vampire. Frank pulled up a phone recording. I pretended to be asleep and recorded this yesterday. The recording captured Leo's smug voice. The system said if we make Luna fail this monthly exam, we'll unlock temporary precognition skills. You guys are responsible for passing her wrong answer notes. I'll distract her. Asterisk slap. Asterisk. I angrily crumpled the paper bag. These despicable villains. So you must do well on the exam today. Frank pressed down on my shoulders. As long as we make it into the top 15, their mission will fail. I frowned, looking dejected, but my best score was only 21st. I'll give you special training. Frank pulled out a thick stack of handwritten test papers from under the desk. This is the must-know exam material I pulled an all-nighter to compile. I waved my hand in front of his eyes. Why are you being so nice to me? He said in a flat tone. The system issued a new task. Get close to Luna, gain her trust, and receive 50 points as a reward. The air froze for 3 seconds. Frank curled the corner of his mouth slightly. Just kidding. I turned it down. I grabbed a workbook and threw it at him. Frank, jokes like that could kill someone. He dodged it easily. Hurry up, we have 2 hours until the exam starts. The next 120 minutes were nothing short of a human endurance challenge. Frank explained key question types at 1.5x speed while I scribbled notes messily on scratch paper. Midway, Tina texted, the Deer Elimination Alliance placed jammers in the exam hall. They can receive answers transmitted by the system. What should we do? They're cheating. I held up my phone to show Frank. Frank pondered for a moment, then revealed a villainous smile. Let's turn their scheme against them. In the exam hall, I was sitting in the second-to-last row, with Leo directly in front of me. Before the test papers were handed out, this guy turned around and gave me a sinister grin. Luna, I heard you've been studying really hard lately. I returned a fake smile. Can't compare to you, you even recite formulas in your dreams. The proctor was the notoriously strict dean of academic affairs. As soon as he announced the start of the exam, I noticed several members of the Deer Annihilation Alliance in the front row, with faint blue lights flickering subtly in their ears. Those were the invisible earpieces provided by the system. As soon as the math papers were handed out, I followed Frank's advice and scanned the major questions first. The final question was almost exactly the same as the type he had predicted. I was secretly rejoicing when suddenly a small note, accidentally, fell onto my desk. Unfolding it, I saw multiple choice answers, ACBDD back. Clearly, it was a trap. I grinned and tore the note to shreds. I steadily worked through all the questions I knew how to answer, leaving the difficult ones blank. Half an hour before the exam was due to be handed in, the academic director suddenly announced, we've received a report that there may be cheating devices in the exam hall. Everyone, stand up now for a security check. The faces of the Deer Elimination Alliance members turned green. The dean of academics used a metal detector to check each student one by one. When the tiny earpiece was dug out of Leo's ear, his expression was as if he had caught a serial killer. Teacher, this is a hearing aid. Leo struggled desperately. The academic director sneered. Then please explain why it's receiving mathematical formulas. The examination hall erupted in an uproar. I took the opportunity to finish the last big question. When handing in the paper, I whispered to Leo, whose face was as pale as death, surprised. The following exams didn't go smoothly either. Someone tried to swap my answer sheet, but I caught them and reported it. When the final exam bell rang, I slumped in my seat like a dehydrated fish. A quarrel broke out in the hallway. It was Leo and the members of the Dear Annihilation Alliance blaming each other. It's all because of your lousy headphones. Clearly, the answer you transmitted was wrong. The system promised to give the correct answers. Frank raised an eyebrow at me. I bounced over excitedly. I feel like I can make it into the top 20. He lowered his voice. That's not enough. You have to be in the top 15 to make their mission fail. 3 days later, on the day the results were posted, everyone crowded in front of the announcement board. I started looking from the last place and didn't see myself at 20th. Not at 15th either. Tina suddenly screamed, Luna, you're 10th. I squeezed to the front and saw that I was indeed in 10th place. Leo ranked 11th, and he was trembling all over as he faced the list. Impossible, the system clearly said. He muttered to himself as if possessed. At that moment, the entire class suddenly froze in unison. A system prompt sounded in their minds. Task failed. Penalty mechanism activated. Random penalty. Imitate animal sounds in public. Executed immediately. The following scene was enough to be recorded in the school's history. Dozens of students simultaneously made sounds of chickens clucking and dogs barking. Leo hopped around like an angry frog. Ribbit, ribbit. Tina was forced to meow like a cat, complete with scratching at the air. Even the usually aloof literature committee member had to play the part of a cow with a moo. The dean's glasses slid down to the tip of his nose. What kind of new performance art is this? Only Frank was unscathed, because he had repeatedly refused missions. His points had long been reset to 0, so the system couldn't punish him. The two of us retreated to the edge of the crowd, holding back laughter until our ribs ached. He handed me a bottle of ice-cold cola. Congratulations. You've created a miracle. It's us. I clinked glasses with him. Bubbles sparkled in the sunlight. Speaking of your eyes, this morning, it's back to normal. Frank looked towards the noisy crowd, his expression gradually turning serious, but the system won't let it go that easily. As if to confirm his words, Leo suddenly stopped doing frog jumps and stared straight in our direction. That wasn't the look of a high school student. It was more like that of some enraged beast. Luna. Just you wait. He spoke word by word, his voice not loud, but it sent a chill down my spine. After school, I found a note in my locker. The system has issued an SSS-level mission to completely destroy you. Be careful. Frank insisted on walking me home. After a moment of silence, he suddenly asked, do you know why the system is targeting you? Because I'm too adorable. He kicked a pebble aside. Because you're a variable. The system wants complete control over the class. But you're unaffected by it, like a bug in the program. I stopped in my tracks. So what will it do next? Frank gazed into the distance. Upgrade. That evening, the class group chat exploded. Bob announced that a midterm mock exam would be held next week. Almost at the same time, Tina sent a message. It's over. The system has issued an ultimate task to completely break you during the mock exam. This time, even Frank received a mandatory order, just as I was about to reply. A new message popped up, sent by Frank. Meet at the usual place tomorrow. Bring a change of clothes and 3 days' worth of rations. Are we going to run away? He replied, no, I'm going to teach you how to hack the system. Frank, are you sure this thing is edible? I pinched my nose and poked the dark stew in front of me with a stick. The abandoned warehouse was filled with a strange odor, like a mix of smelly socks and expired curry. Frank sat cross-legged on a pile of textbooks, jotting something down in his notebook. Without looking up, he replied, essential survival skills for the wild. We're in an abandoned school warehouse, not the Amazon jungle. I kicked the plastic grocery bag at my feet, and I brought instant noodles. The system might be monitoring on-campus spending records. Frank finally looked up, his eyelashes casting a fan-shaped shadow across his face in the sunlight. But if you insist on eating preservatives, stop. Enough. I tore open the package of the braised beef instant noodles. The system hack you mentioned yesterday. Don't tell me it's just teaching me how to make dark cuisine. Frank closed the notebook. The system has been upgraded. It can now forcibly issue tasks. He pulled out his phone. The screen was already shattered into a spiderweb pattern, clearly broken on purpose. I tried destroying the receiving terminal, but it just transfers to other devices. I slurped a mouthful of instant noodles. So physical isolation is useless. He stood up and tore a new photo from the relationship chart on the wall. Look at this. The photo showed the homeroom teacher Bob adjusting his smartwatch in the office. Bob also has a system. I choked and coughed violently. Frank said with a sharp gaze, not exactly. I suspect he's an observer. Just as I was about to press further, the warehouse's iron door suddenly began to shake with thunderous banging. We both froze. Frank pulled me behind him in one swift motion. Luna, I know you're in there. Something terrible has happened. Tina, came the voice with a sob. The door had just cracked open a sliver. Tina burst in like a cannonball, her hair as wild as if struck by lightning. The system has issued a group task. The city will be conducting an inspection next week, and the school is hastily organizing a knowledge competition, requiring each class to send 3 participants. I rolled my eyes. The mission objective is to make me embarrass myself in the competition. Tina stamped her feet anxiously. Completing the mission will unlock precognition skills for all system hosts. Now the whole class has gone crazy. Leo even suggested putting sedatives in your water. Frank said calmly, don't worry, I'll help you. The next 3 days were nothing short of hell on earth. Frank's special training plan was precise to the second. Meet at the school gate at 6 a.m. to memorize current political affairs, cram historical timelines during the 10-minute breaks, simulate quick response quizzes during lunch breaks, and after school, head straight to the warehouse to grind through practice questions until 9 p.m. On the 4th day, in the early morning, I slumped over a pile of materials and weakly exclaimed, I dreamed I was eaten by an encyclopedia. Just hang in there a little longer. Frank handed me a steaming cup of something. I drank it. To stay alert, I took a sip and immediately spat it out. What the hell is this? Gasoline, extra strong coffee mixed with Red Bull. Frank took a big gulp himself. Leo and the others have already unlocked some precognitive skills. Did you see today's mock exam? I recalled Leo's smug face when he handed in his paper 10 minutes early during the day, and suddenly felt energized. Another cup, on the day of the knowledge competition. The school auditorium was packed with people. As a substitute team member, I sat in the first row below the stage, clearly able to see the sweat beads on the back of Leo's neck. He kept stealing glances at me, his eyes looking at me as if I were a ticking time bomb. The host announced the rules. For the final round of scenario simulation questions, substitute players can replace regular players. Leo suddenly turned to look at Frank, who spread his hands with an innocent expression. I gave Leo a peace sign, and his face instantly turned ashen. The first few rounds of the competition were uneventful, with our class and the neighboring class 2 locked in a tight score battle. The crucial turning point came in the 4th round, where a correct answer earned 20 points, but a wrong one cost 30 points. Class 2 had already answered 2 consecutive questions correctly, widening the score gap to 50 points. Next question. The host flipped through the question cards. In Dream of the Red Chamber, how old was female leader when she first entered the mansion? The whole room fell silent. This question was so obscure that even the top student in class 2 frowned and pondered. Leo suddenly jolted all over. Obviously, the system gave a hint. He eagerly pressed the buzzer. 10 years old. Wrong answer. The correct answer is 6 years old, the host said regretfully. Deduct 30 points. Our class's spectator seats erupted in a chorus of groans. Leo stared wide-eyed in disbelief, clearly unable to comprehend why the system had given the wrong answer. Frank mouthed to me, system countermeasure successful. It turned out that over the past few days, he hadn't just been training me, he had also figured out a way to interfere with the system's signals in the warehouse. I suppressed a laugh and winked at him to show I understood. The score gap widened further. And finally, it was time for the last round of scenario simulation questions. The host announced, each class, please send 1 representative to answer questions based on the video clips. Substitutions are allowed. We'll send a substitute. Frank immediately raised his hand. Leo surprisingly didn't jump up to object, probably brewing some mischief. Under the gaze of the entire audience, I stepped onto the stage. The video began to play. It's a documentary about the extinction of the dinosaurs. The host asks, please briefly describe 3 indirect pieces of evidence that an asteroid impact on Earth led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. This question Frank had predicted. Just as I was about to speak, a sharp electric current sound suddenly shot through my brain. Interference source detected, countermeasure program activated, target, Luna's language function temporarily blocked. I was horrified to discover that my tongue felt frozen, unable to utter a single word. The audience began to stir, and the host kindly reminded, Class 3 students, please answer within 1 minute. through blurred vision, I saw Leo's twisted smile at the corner of his mouth. The system had anticipated this step all along. Just as the countdown reached 10 seconds, Frank suddenly stood up from the contestants' seats. "Host, I request to assist in answering the question. This doesn't comply with the regulations." The rules allow for team discussion followed by a representative's summary. Frank spoke rapidly. First, the global iridium anomaly layer. Second, the distribution of shocked quartz. Third, the fossil record gap. The host checked the answer and nodded in surprise. "That's completely correct. Class 3 gets 40 points. The whole room erupted in an uproar. The frozen sensation on my tongue suddenly disappeared, and I almost collapsed onto the stage. Frank's actions just now definitely violated the system's commands. The final score was announced, and our class narrowly won by 5 points. When receiving the award, Leo's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. As soon as he stepped off the stage, he grabbed Frank by the collar. "Are you crazy? The system will. I know the consequences. No need to worry." Frank calmly pried his fingers open. On the way back to the classroom, our classmates looked at us as if they had seen a ghost. Tina secretly told me, "The system just sent several urgent notifications, saying that Frank is a traitor and everyone should stay away from him." When the school bell rang, Frank unusually quickly packed his bag and left. When I chased after him, I only saw his back disappearing around the corner, and a note that had fallen on the ground: "Don't contact me tonight. The system is going to carry out punishment." My heart sank abruptly. The next day Frank didn't come to school. Bob said he took a sick leave, but Tina's message sent a chill down my spine. Leo is bragging in the group chat, saying the system's punishment for Frank is public humiliation, and they plan to carry it out this afternoon. During lunch break, I slipped out of school and rushed straight to Frank's house. Auntie Jane, who answered the door, looked worried. Frank said he was going to school for some kind of performance. I turned and ran, calling Frank as I went. It rang over a dozen times before he finally picked up. The background was noisy, with a reverberating echo, like in a school auditorium. "Frank, where are you?" His voice was hoarse. "Don't worry about it, I'll be right there." I rushed into the auditorium, and the scene before me made my blood boil. Frank was wearing a ridiculous Pikachu mascot costume, dancing to a girl group song on stage. Sitting in the audience were Leo and several members of the Dear Annihilation Alliance. Holding up their phones, recording and laughing. "Jump higher," Leo egged on. "The system said we have to complete all 3 jumps perfectly to lift the punishment." Frank's movements were as mechanical as a marionette. I was trembling with rage and rushed straight onto the stage. "Enough." Frank silently shook his head. His face was frighteningly pale, and his lips were bitten until they bled. Leo shouted from below the stage, "The system punishment must be completed independently. If you interfere, it will be doubled, then double it." I snatched Frank's phone and indeed saw the system prompt: penalty content, dance in a mascot costume. If interrupted, switch to completing with a partner. Without another word, I started taking off my school uniform jacket. Frank stopped me. "Luna, are you crazy?" "I've been crazy for a long time. It's just a girl group dance, right? I'll join you." As the music started again, Frank and I twisted and turned on the stage like 2 lunatics. The mascot suit was thick and heavy, and within 5 minutes, I was sweating profusely. But looking at Frank's gradually relaxing expression, I suddenly felt the scene was absurdly funny. "You danced terribly," I complained while kicking my legs. "You too, like an electrocuted penguin." He laughed, sweat dripping down his chin. After the last dance, I collapsed directly onto the stage, completely exhausted. Frank lay beside me, panting. "Luna, thank you," I smiled and said. "You're welcome, Pikachu." On the way back to the classroom, Frank said, "I found the system's weakness." "What?" "It can't handle too many variables at once." During the knowledge competition, when I had to both complete the task and disrupt Leo, the system experienced a delay. My eyes lit up. "So if we create enough chaos, we can overload and crash it." As they were speaking, Tina rushed over in a panic. "It's bad. The system has issued a new task, requiring the whole class to team up against you in the midterm exam. This time, even Bob is involved." I exchanged a glance with Frank, and we spoke at the same time. "The midterm exam, this will be the ultimate showdown between the system and the anti-system faction. 3, 2, 1, cut the power." With a sharp click of the switch, the entire school plunged into darkness. I clutched the USB drive tightly, my heart pounding like a drum. "Luna, the tracker shows Bob moving in the second-floor hallway." Tina's hushed voice came through the earpiece. "The security guards have been diverted. You have at most 15 minutes. I moved in the darkness, only to be suddenly pulled back by a strong hand. Frank's familiar scent instantly put me at ease. "Watch your step," he whispered softly, his warm fingers lingering briefly in my palm. 3 days ago, we discovered the truth in the school basement. The homeroom teacher Bob's smartwatch was no ordinary device, but a miniature system controller. In the outstanding teacher photo posted on the wall, a young Bob from 20 years ago was wearing the same model of watch on his wrist. At that moment, Frank turned pale. The system has existed for at least 20 years, transferring between different classes, slowly upgrading, and now we are doing something crazy, hacking into the system's main control. During the school-wide assembly, the lock on the control room door clicked softly. The place was completely empty. I inserted the USB drive. Frank immediately started typing code. This was what we prepared by staying up all night. A virus program capable of interfering with the system's signals. The screen flickered a few times, and suddenly a warning box popped up. Illegal intrusion detected. Defense protocol activated. Frank's fingers moved so fast they became a blur. "Oh no, it's tracing us back." Before the words had even finished, the auditorium's speakers suddenly erupted with a piercing screech of electrical current. Then came Bob's voice. "Students, please remain calm. The power system malfunction." Suddenly, the control room door was kicked open. Leo stood in the doorway, his eyes glowing with an unnatural blue light, with several classmates behind him, their gazes equally vacant. "Find the traitor." His voice sounded like a synthesized electronic tone. "Execute the purge protocol." I grabbed a chair and stood in front of Frank, shouting, "You're being controlled by the system. Wake up." Leo walked forward mechanically, his mouth twisted into a grotesque smile. "System, perfect, obey." At the critical moment, a pink figure suddenly lunged from the side, knocking Leo off balance. It was Tina. Her hair was disheveled, and a trace of blood still lingered at the corner of her mouth. But her eyes were clear. "Luna, run." She clung desperately to Leo's waist. Frank was right. Love and friendship are variables the system cannot calculate. I turned to look at Frank. He was frantically pounding the keyboard as the progress bar on the screen reached 98%, 99%, success. A blinding flash of white light swept through, and all the lights went out simultaneously. In the dead silence, I heard the sound of bodies hitting the floor one after another. Then, the backup power kicked in, and the lights slowly brightened. Leo lay on the ground, looking around in confusion. How did I get here?" The other students around also looked at each other as if waking from a deep dream. Gasps of surprise rose and fell in waves throughout the auditorium. What just happened to me? Why was I dancing to Little Apple, who deleted all the photos from my phone? Frank let out a long sigh and leaned back wearily in his chair. The screen flashed with a large "System uninstallation complete." My legs went weak, and I slumped to the floor, only then realizing my back was drenched in sweat. Hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway. Bob appeared at the door, his face ashen. The screen of his smartwatch was already shattered, emitting a faint wisp of blue smoke. What have you done?" "That was 20 years of hard work." Frank stood up, subtly shielding me behind him. "Professor Wang, the watch on your wrist is actually an experimental device used to control the students, isn't it?" Bob's expression instantly froze. "The educational technology experimental project from 20 years ago, codenamed Gardner," Frank continued. "The initial goal was to improve learning efficiency, but it later evolved into manipulation. You are not the real teacher Wang, just one of the hosts selected by the system." I widened my eyes. "What?" Bob suddenly deflated like a punctured ball. "No. I was in the first batch of test subjects. Back then, a student in my class jumped from the building because the system tasks were too overwhelming." A deathly silence enveloped the control room. The principal's voice came over the broadcast from downstairs, instructing all classes to evacuate in an orderly manner. 20 years have passed. Bob covered his face, his voice choked with sobs. I tried to resist, but the system would just transfer to the next teacher. All I could do was try to reduce the intensity of the tasks. Frank remained silent for a moment, then took a small device out of his bag. "This is a signal jammer. As long as you cooperate with us to completely destroy the main control terminal, the system will never activate again." Bob looked up, a glimmer of light flashing in his turbid eyes as he slowly took off his watch. 3 days later, no one could remember the specific details of being controlled by the system, only vaguely feeling as if they had experienced a long nightmare. "So what exactly is the system?" On the way home from school, I bit the straw of my milk tea and asked Frank, He narrowed his eyes slightly. A self-evolving program that sustains itself by absorbing human emotional energy. Bob's batch was the test subjects, and our batch almost became the fuel. Wow, that sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. I nudged his shoulder. By the way, Tina said Leo applied for a class transfer on his own initiative. Frank nodded. He remembers it most clearly and carries the strongest guilt. He paused. Actually, everyone remembers some fragments, but they choose to forget. I pulled a notebook from my backpack. I almost forgot to return this to you. Thank you for helping me review back then. Frank took the notebook, and a photo fell out from inside. It was Tina who secretly took the photo. In the photo, we were both wearing Pikachu onesies, leaning our heads together as we collapsed on the stage, laughing like two fools. Keep it. He stuffed the photo back into my hand, in memory of us teaming up to take down an AI. On graduation day, our class unexpectedly won the most cohesive class award. Tina cried so hard on stage that her makeup ran. Leo came over to apologize to me on his own initiative. Frank, the once aloof campus heartthrob, was now surrounded by junior students asking for autographs. He had been admitted to a prestigious university with top 10 provincial exam scores. A junior student with a ponytail quietly asked me, "Senior, I heard your class once had an incredibly effective study system. Is it true?" I looked at Bob taking photos with students nearby. He was finally wearing an ordinary watch on his wrist. I smiled and said, "There was once, but it was defeated by something more powerful." What was it? Well, I and Frank exchanged a smile across the crowd. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. When the poor student Little White Flower came to borrow a book from me, I suddenly saw a bullet comment. "Don't do it. You've been bound to a system. Whatever you lend out will be exchanged for something else. It was her fault that you fell from being the top-ranked, wealthy campus belle to the second-to-last chubby shut-in, and now, she's about to exchange away your last bit of intelligence." I jolted suddenly. My desk mate at the very end of the row beside me was snoring soundly in deep sleep. Without a word, I handed my desk mate's book to her. In that case, let my naturally gifted desk mate teach her a lesson. During the break exercise time, I was scratching my head over a ridiculously simple math problem when Bella suddenly ran over and said, "Julia, I wasn't paying attention in the last class. Can I borrow your notes to study?" Before I could respond, the classmates around us burst into laughter. Borrow from Julia? Did I hear that right? The top student in the grade borrowing from the one at the bottom. Just looking at her makes me lose my appetite. Her face is covered in acne, and everything feels dirty. Bella, why are you asking her? Exactly, and Julia is so ugly. She must be really jealous of you since you're so beautiful. You should stay away from her. Don't say that about her. Julia may not have good grades, but she never gives up trying. That's something worth learning from, Bella said hypocritically, the gleam of satisfaction in her eyes impossible to conceal. She then reached her hand out toward me. "All right, enough talking. Class is about to start. Hurry up and give me the book. I have things to do." I was speechless as I looked at the innocent, delicate face before me, the kind that would turn heads on the street. If I hadn't accidentally seen the bullet comments, I might have almost forgotten that, a long time ago, Bella was just an ordinary, short, and chubby girl. Back then, I was the popular campus belle, consistently ranking in the top 5 of my grade, living a life so perfect it felt unreal. But it seemed that everything started to turn upside down from the moment she began frequently borrowing things from me and seeking my help. At the moment, Bella had an impatient gleam in her eyes and was about to reach out and snatch it directly, while the barrage once again flooded with comments. "Don't give it to her. The life exchange system is about to succeed. Once it does, you'll instantly become a fool, and her bank account will receive hundreds of millions from your family's wealth, while you'll end up covered in sores and die a miserable death on the streets." Wait, my heart racing, I shoved the math workbook I was pressing down on into Bella's hands, looking at her expressionlessly. "I didn't take notes from last class either. If you're willing to learn from me, just take this workbook." "Well, all right then." Bella put on a reluctant face, but her eyes were gleaming with excitement as she grabbed the book and headed back to her seat. I silently watched her retreating figure. Bella didn't know that this book belonged to my desk mate. He ranked last in class, I was second to last, and even so, he still forced me to do his homework. Let my desk mate, who snores thunderously and remains completely unfazed by the outside world, teach her a lesson with his talent. For the entire class after that, Bella waited for the mobile banking deposit notification, and she had even increased her limit specifically for this. but no matter how many times she refreshed the page, she didn't see the influx of massive wealth in her phone. Meanwhile, my desk mate had already changed positions and slept through who knows how many naps, even letting out silly giggles over some unknown dream. As soon as the class-ending bell rang, I immediately dashed out the door. The spicy mix and clay pot chicken on the second floor of the cafeteria are delicious, and with a cup of ice-cold cola, it's absolutely amazing. After swapping lives, my appetite has also become really good, though I used to force myself to control it for the sake of losing weight. Just as I was swiping my card freely, eating and drinking to my heart's content, I heard the voices of Bella and several classmates behind me. "Bella, didn't you say you were treating us to a big meal today? Why are we still at the cafeteria? My card is having some issues, there might be a delay." "Oh well, the cafeteria is the same." Bella frowned as she spoke, until she spotted me, rushed over, and grabbed my arm. "Perfect timing, Julia is here, lend me your meal card, I'm treating everyone to a meal." I was completely speechless. "You're treating, so why are you using my card? We're all classmates, and since you're so well off, don't be so petty, you're covering our meal today, okay?" Bella said as she tried to snatch my card. I coldly slapped her hand away. "Bella, this is my property, don't always act so entitled, I don't owe you anything." She had long grown accustomed to taking things from me without returning them. Hearing this, she was first stunned, then angrily retorted, "Why are you so stingy? I kindly gave you a chance to prove yourself to your classmates, and you don't even appreciate it. You know I don't have any money. Are you trying to make things difficult for me on purpose? Hurry up and give me the card, or don't blame me for cutting ties with you too." I immediately turned to leave, but suddenly, Bella stuck her foot out and tripped me hard, sending me crashing to the ground. A sharp pain shot through my teeth, and the taste of blood filled my mouth, while all around me, there was a burst of mocking laughter. "Sorry, Julia, I didn't mean it, but, you're just too big, you really should lose some weight." The sound of you falling gave us all a fright. I couldn't take it anymore. I scrambled up from the floor, ready to fight Bella with everything I had, but several boys in the class were quick to block me, their faces filled with intense disgust and contempt. "You fat cow, you're so stingy you won't even treat us to a meal. Serves you right for falling, how dare you act up, don't even think about reporting this to the teacher, we all saw it. You deliberately fell to frame someone." Just then, an announcement came from the side, amplified by a loudspeaker. "The arts department is here to relay a notice from the school. A citywide basketball league is being held at the end of this month, and our school needs to form a cheerleading squad to support the players. Those with this special talent are welcome to sign up. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to appear on TV, and if selected as the cheerleading captain, you'll receive an additional bonus of 50,000. The students buzzed with excitement and crowded around, eagerly asking about the sign-up process, until a boy in uniform, with exceptionally striking looks, strode over. His name tag read Simon. He had short dark hair, brown eyebrows and eyes, and skin as pale and cold as the first snow of early winter. The bustling crowd instantly fell silent, replaced by waves of gasping breaths. Someone whispered in awe, "Wow! It's the school heartthrob Simon." Even after being admitted to the film academy, he still came back to school. He looks even more handsome in person than on TV. No wonder I saw the Zhu family's Rolls-Royce parked at the school gate this morning. The student holding the megaphone said respectfully, "Minister, the notice has been issued, and we are just waiting for everyone to sign up." Well done." Simon curled his lips into a smile and cast his gaze toward the crowd. "Back when we first entered school, during the first intercollegiate basketball team competition, Simon led the team into battle, and I, as the cheerleading captain, cheered them on. At that time, he asked for my contact information, but I politely declined, fearing it would interfere with my studies. Now, however, times have changed, and our circumstances are worlds apart. Cheerleading captain selection, I'll sign up." Bella, who clearly had stiff limbs and had never learned to dance, still raised her hand high, pushed through the crowd, and stepped forward. She walked up to Simon, held her neck high like a swan, and spoke in a poised manner. "I'm Bella from Class 1, Grade 2 of senior high school. I want to win glory for my class, and also for our school." Simon's gaze fell on her, a flicker of admiration passing through his eyes, but he only gave a polite, slight nod. "Sorry, Class 1, Grade 11, I remember. There seems to be a student in this class who might be more suitable." I felt a surge of panic, bent down, and tried to sneak away, but it was too late. "Julia, Bella," a sharp voice rang out, and the crowd automatically parted to form a narrow path. She rushed over in 2 steps, tightly grabbing my arm, and forcibly pulled me forward. Julia has been learning dance since she was a child. Is she the one classmate mentioned? I fully support her participation. My chin was still swollen, the pain contorting my features and making my mouth and eyes twist awkwardly. On top of that, being dragged over like this made all the flesh on my body tremble. Everyone was stunned for a moment, then burst into a tsunami of laughter. No way, someone of that weight doing cheerleading, don't stomp the floor through. Are you sure it's a cheerleading performance and not an earthquake simulation? Who else could it be in class 1? Isn't the class flower just Bella? I hope the school heartthrob's taste doesn't scare me. Simon frowned the moment he saw me. His pupils filled with shock, but he quickly spoke sternly. Please show mutual respect. I have personally witnessed G's dancing skills, and they rank among the best I've ever seen. Bella, upon hearing this, the jealousy and resentment in her eyes grew even stronger. She forced a smile. Yeah, so Julia, do you want to join? We'll compete fairly and both participate in the selection process. I endured countless mocking gazes, my face flushing bright red. But it wasn't because I felt ashamed or angry from being ridiculed. Instead, I suddenly noticed that Bella's chin had slightly receded backward. My deskmate often sleeps with his mouth open in class, which has led to a deformity in his jaw development, and now, Bella, after borrowing his book, actually seems to be heading in the same direction. Julia, if you're really that ashamed, just get lost. Standing here without saying a word, do you expect us to admire your noble appearance? Some boys were already impatient and tried to push me. I gritted my teeth and said loudly, I'm signing up for this team captain selection. Just you wait and see. I'll make you regret what you said today. Just then, school administrators and teachers started coming to the cafeteria for lunch. The students, afraid of getting into trouble, quickly scattered like birds and beasts. I channeled my frustration into my appetite, devouring my food like crazy. The icy cold Coke rolled down my throat, washing away much of my restless and gloomy mood. On the other end, Bella promised to distribute all the bonus money to everyone after winning the cheerleading captain position, which finally calmed her classmates down enough to go get their own meals. I had been eating for quite a while when I noticed Simon sitting just 1 row away from me. He would occasionally look up at me, seemingly lost in thought. When our eyes met, he stood up directly and came over to sit across from me. Classmate, do you still remember me? I nodded vaguely. Simon, his brows and eyes relaxed peacefully. That's good. I have a registration form here. You can fill it out and submit it to the student council. I'll review and approve it quickly. All right, I won't disturb you any further. He placed a piece of paper in front of me. As he stood up, his gaze lingered on me for a moment before he turned and left. I saw Bella chasing after him without backing down, saying something to him. In the end, she successfully obtained a registration form as she wished. Throughout the entire noon, everyone in the girls' dormitory hallway was excitedly discussing Simon. His father is a high-ranking official, and his mother is the Asia-Pacific regional head of a luxury brand. He's too perfect, just like a character straight out of a TV drama, the Prince Charming of my dreams. Don't even think about it, although he's never been in a relationship before. Reliable sources say he's already had a white moonlight in his heart for a long time. Woo-woo, such a high-quality, pure-hearted young man must only like someone at the level of a goddess. I'm so envious it hurts. Bella suddenly appeared, interrupting everything. So what if he has a white moonlight? There's no one in this world who doesn't change. She sneered and crossed her arms, looking utterly confident. Especially men. They say they appreciate personality and inner qualities, but what they really care about is nothing more than a pretty face. That noon, I was still lying in bed asleep. Bella showed up uninvited and directly took my school uniform hanging by the bed. She had intended to go through my drawers, but little did she know I had locked them today. Why does this uniform smell so bad? You fat pig, don't you even take a bath? I heard the faint insults in my ear, turned over, and continued sleeping. If my deskmate knew his uniform would end up on the goddess, he would definitely be very happy. That afternoon, I did something unprecedented by voluntarily helping my deskmate with their homework. I closed my eyes and write randomly, turning fill-in-the-blank questions into multiple-choice ones. I wrote solution at the beginning and then nothing else, racking my brains only to end up copying the question stem. The room was stuffy, and the fan creaked as it spun overhead. My deskmate was too hot to sleep, so they pulled out a stallion novel to read instead, giggling incessantly while flipping pages, legs shaking wildly. Sometimes I really admire him, whether he's sleeping or reading a novel, he can laugh heartily. completely shutting out the outside world, in the last monthly exam. My total score was 250 points, while his was 38 points, and that was only because he answered all multiple-choice questions with option C. After class, many girls were discussing whether to go to class 3 next door to see Simon. Only Bella was squirming in her chair as if she had lice, scratching her back incessantly with an extremely pained expression. I secretly found it amusing and picked up my cup to go out and get some water, in the hallway. I happened to see Simon surrounded by a group of girls as he stepped out. Through the crowd, he caught sight of me and gave me a smile, waving his hand. "Move aside, you fat pig," blocking the way like a mountain. "Do you really think the school heartthrob would ever be interested in you?" A strong force came from behind as a girl from our class who was usually close with Bella shoved me aside. They then put on ingratiating smiles, bringing snacks and drinks as if presenting treasures to Simon. "Classmate, this is a small token of our appreciation, please accept it," but they never expected that the usually good-tempered Simon's eyes would suddenly turn extremely gloomy. "What did you just call classmate Julia?" They were stunned and momentarily speechless. Your words just now only reveal the baseness of your character. If you have any decency left, you should apologize to classmate Julia immediately." Simon's expression darkened considerably as he walked past them with a cold face, coming toward me. Just a few steps away, he paused, his tone softening considerably. "Don't take these comments to heart. For high school students, academic performance should be the top priority." It had been a long time since anyone had spoken up for me in public. I nodded gratefully. Bella happened to walk out of the classroom scratching her neck. The itch was unbearable, making her take off her school uniform. As she passed by Simon, perhaps too uncomfortable, she merely smiled briefly before moving on. The boy slightly furrowed his brows and asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing, maybe there's something wrong with what I'm wearing." Bella quickly finished speaking and headed toward the restroom. When the last class ended, I didn't want to run into someone I'd rather not see in the cafeteria, so I went straight to the commercial street outside campus. I went to a star-rated restaurant to order food. I was surprised to find that my skin seemed to have lightened a bit. My eyes, which used to be narrowed into slits by layers of fat, could now open properly. The large patches of acne on my face also showed signs of improvement. Overjoyed, I dried my hands and stepped out of the bathroom, but just happened to hear Simon's friend talking to him. "You gave up your trip abroad this time just to come back to school to find your white moonlight. Are you disappointed after seeing the result?" A trendy-looking boy wearing a baseball cap teased with a laugh. "I've always said, no girl is so stunningly beautiful that she can captivate your soul. It must be the filter you're wearing that's making her seem better." I was curious about who could have our handsome guy so bewitched, but seeing her today was a real letdown. Simon kept his eyes downcast, making it hard to read the emotions in them, as he idly stirred the spoon in his bowl. "Enough, I'm already annoyed enough." He spoke gloomily. "Do you understand the feeling of watching someone pure and untainted in your heart being bullied and trampled upon? It feels like a shattering." Okay, so when are you planning to leave?" "After finishing this competition, it'll be soon." I stood there in stunned silence, unable to put a name to the feelings swirling inside me. The person I thought was special, the one I believed was uniquely kind to me, was no different from all those who judge others by their appearance. "It doesn't matter, I don't need anyone's pity, I can be my own guiding light in this life." During this period, Bella became even more enthusiastic about borrowing things from me in order to win the position of cheerleading captain. Sometimes, when I wasn't around, they would even go through my things without permission, trying to steal something. Fortunately, after seeing the bullet comments, I became more vigilant and replaced everything I could display with my deskmates' belongings. The anti-system started to take effect. My skin became fairer and more delicate day by day, and my facial features gradually returned to their former appearance. Even the stubborn fat that I could never get rid of before had noticeably reduced. Meanwhile, Bella started dozing off right when class began, and while sleeping, she would occasionally laugh out loud as if dreaming of something amusing. The teacher thought that, as a top student, she was staying up too late studying at night and getting sleepy during the day, so they called on her to answer a question. However, to everyone's surprise, Bella stood up and stared blankly at a question that wasn't even difficult. In this situation, she became even more proactive in borrowing things from me, still unwilling to put in any effort herself. Meanwhile, whenever I had free time, I would rush to the school dance studio to prepare for the cheerleading captain election. Unfortunately, on this day, I was cornered head-on by Bella and her group. Oh my, I knew I wasn't mistaken. Julia is really going all out. even sneaking into practice. You're so clueless about your own limits. If you don't have a mirror, at least you have urine, right? If you were chosen as team captain, wouldn't that be a slap in the face to all the girls in our school? How ridiculous. Even our class belle has signed up, and you dare to compete. No matter how hard you try, you can't beat natural beauty. During this period, Bella has gained some weight and her skin has noticeably darkened. She can only barely maintain her appearance by applying foundation. Don't say that. We shouldn't deprive others of the right to strive for something. Bella smoothed her hair and said with a smile, but Simon told me that the team captain selection is decided by a student vote, so in the end, it all depends on who everyone wants to choose. Simon. The girl beside her exclaimed in surprise as if she had just discovered a new world. Oh my God, Bella, when did you two get so close? Spill the details. Is there something going on between you two? I've always said you two look perfect together. How many girls in our school could possibly be prettier than you? Bella pursed her lips into a smile, tacitly acknowledging everyone's many guesses, then added, "Oh, please don't go spreading this around. Nothing's set in stone yet, but Simon really is a great guy, and he said he'd support me when voting time comes." Just then, Simon approached from afar with members of the arts department, deep in conversation. Bella immediately went forward to greet them. The boy glanced at me without any expression, then turned his gentle gaze toward her. A chorus of amazed whispers rose around me. Without saying anything, I turned and walked away. That evening, when I returned to the dorm, I found that the area under my blanket was completely soaked, and it was all sticky liquid. My roommate said with a complicated expression, "Julia, today Bella came by your place. As soon as she got here, she started going through your things. She accidentally spilled her milk tea all over your bed and told us not to tell you. She's been getting really close with Simon lately, and they often go out to eat together. Just keep it to yourself, and don't tell her I said anything." It happened to be Friday, so without another word, I applied to move out of the dorm that very night. Before leaving, I unlocked the cabinet and filled it with novels my desk mate had read, along with the pen caps he had chewed on. Bella, so many gifts. I'm sure you'll accept every single one. I returned to the villa my dad had bought me as a birthday gift and hired a professional dance instructor to guide my training. Not long ago, I finally managed to soften my stiff limbs, so I need to make the most of my time and master the cheerleading dance. I seized the weekends, waking up early and staying up late, practicing every second I could, yet I never felt tired. Suddenly, it felt as if I had returned to the beginning of high school, to that version of myself who shone brightly on stage. That confident and radiant girl had been gone for a very long time. At that time, for some reason, the class group chat started criticizing me again. Someone sent an anonymous message saying, "Julia is both ugly and has a terrible personality, yet she's like a toad lusting after swan meat. She's always had her sights set on the school heartthrob. Yeah, she's jealous that the school heartthrob is getting close to the class beauty. She's been privately threatening and insulting the class beauty. Even saying she's going to hit her. This woman is so disgusting, ugly but full of grand delusions. The school heartthrob isn't blind. Why would he ever be interested in her? It's too sickening. Let's go pressure the arts department right now. What's even the point of having a cheerleading captain selection? I just posted, when did I ever have a crush on Simon, and was immediately kicked out of the group chat by the administrator. I tried to rejoin the group with a secondary account, but found that the class group had been set to private and couldn't be added. On Monday morning, I woke up before 6 o'clock, groggily got up and went to wash up. When I faced the mirror, I almost thought I was still dreaming. The person in the mirror had eyes as beautiful as a painting, with thick eyelashes, a high nose bridge, fair skin with a rosy glow, and lips naturally red without any makeup. My appearance had completely recovered, even surpassing what it was before. So, Bella's situation can be easily imagined. I arrived at the school with an excited heart, but at the classroom door, I unexpectedly heard that the cheerleading captain had already been chosen. Only Bella and I had signed up. Who was chosen goes without saying. Ha ha ha, this shouldn't have been a choice in the first place. Comparing Julia with Bella is just asking for humiliation, isn't it? What does it matter if class beauty Bella can't dance? I'd love to watch her just wiggle around a bit with that face of hers. Julia is out of the question. People without a thing for pigs really can't appreciate her. Even if she danced like a flower, I'd still find it off-putting. Thankfully, the people in the arts department aren't blind. If they actually held a competition for these two, it would be a complete joke. Yeah, Julia has some nerve, daring to sign up as team captain. If she doesn't have a mirror, She should at least have some self-awareness. At that moment, I happened to run into Bella in the hallway, standing face to face. We were both wearing masks and loose, oversized clothes, yet our figures were still noticeable. Now, I am slender and slim, with limbs that have grown long and graceful, and Bella, she had expanded like a piece of leavened dough. "Julia, what on earth have you done to me?" She rushed over, gritting her teeth, trying to slap me, but I deftly dodged. "Bella, I've always looked like this. As for what happened recently, shouldn't you be the one to explain?" The girl's expression was terrifyingly stiff, her whole body trembling with rage. I sneered, thrusting a thorn into her heart. "Tell me, since everyone judges by appearances, if they saw our faces beneath the masks, would they still praise you like this? Also, Simon, you should know that the white moonlight in his heart was once me. I'm also curious to see how he'll react when he sees my restored appearance." Mentioning Simon, Bella finally couldn't hold back anymore, her voice sharp and desperate as she lunged at me. "You bitch, it must be you who used some trick to ruin me like this. You're asking for death." Her voice startled the classmates in the classroom, and everyone turned to look outside the door upon hearing the commotion. Just then, Simon, who was coming upstairs, also followed the sound and approached. "What's wrong, Bella?" He was heading in my direction, completely oblivious to the other side. Bella's desperate wish to disappear into the ground. "Why are you wearing a mask in this weather, and bundled up like that? Aren't you hot?" When he was still some distance away from me, I said coldly, "Sorry, I'm Julia." Simon's footsteps faltered. "I heard the team captain position has already been decided internally." "Did you make the decision? Didn't we agree to have a fair election, Julia? I've spoken up for you before too. I don't consider myself an unfair person." The boy looked down at me, his expression gradually turning cold. "The cheerleading captain represents the face of the school. I believe we should still choose students with good appearance and qualities. Student selection also follows this standard. Everyone knows who will be chosen. To waste everyone's time going through this selection process in high school is somewhat selfish." I nodded vigorously. "Oh. You mean based on looks?" I pointed at Bella, who was trying to sneak away. "This is what you consider good looks? Julia, are you out of your mind? I've just been temporarily bloated from eating something wrong recently, plus I'm a bit swollen today." Bella spoke without thinking, but the classmates in the classroom widened their eyes and began to discuss fervently upon hearing her words. Simon froze in place for a moment, as if someone had pressed the pause button, standing there in astonishment. "Simon, have you forgotten what it was like when we took the field together back then?" I said with a half-smile. "Aren't you curious about what my face looks like behind this mask now?" The boy's breathing was noticeably trembling, just as he stepped forward, intending to remove the mask from my face. Bella suddenly let out a sharp scream and collapsed straight to the ground. "I can't breathe. Simon, take me to the hospital. Help." Simon had no choice but to give up, but he couldn't lift Bella on his own. They had no choice but to carry her away along with the other boys. "Julia, I'll come back for you." After saying this, he breathlessly carried Bella downstairs. Under countless astonished gazes, I walked into the classroom and took off my mask. "Holy shit!" A terrified exclamation erupted beside my ear. After my desk mate and Bella exchanged fates. She clearly had less sleep. When she saw my appearance, she directly fell off her chair, and the rest of the classmates swarmed to my desk with an overwhelming, astonishing force. Everyone's jaws and eyeballs were about to drop. "No way, am I seeing things? Is this really Julia? It feels like she's a completely different person." "Exactly, with that level of looks and figure, you could easily mistake her for a female celebrity in the entertainment industry. She could rival the fairy sister, total campus belle vibes. I can't take my eyes off her." "Julia, did you secretly get plastic surgery, or do you actually know magic? This change is way too good looking." "All of you step aside, this is my goddess. From now on, no one is allowed to bully Julia, or I'll twist their heads off." There were also girls pointing at their acne and urgently asking me how to make it disappear. I expressionlessly pulled out my textbook. "I was like that before because I was sick and taking hormone medication. Now that I've stopped the medication, I've recovered. That's the reason, and I won't explain it again in the future." In no time, my beauty spread throughout the entire grade, and I became widely famous. Simon took someone to send Bella to the infirmary, but the other members of the student council were still there. After performing on the spot, I received unanimous support and unquestionably earned the title of cheerleading captain. I began training with the rest of the selected team members, and I consciously avoided Simon, putting on a mask as soon as I saw him and taking it off as soon as he left, and I never gave him any chance to be alone with me and speak. the rumor that I was obsessed with him was also debunked. Every day after class, many students would gather outside the classroom to watch me. The homeroom teacher was forced to set up a separate seat for me and would come to maintain order as soon as class ended. The day of the city basketball tournament finally arrived. When I changed into my uniform and was about to board the bus to the city, many boys rushed over to hand me flowers and cheer me on. Simon also squeezed over unwillingly, his voice tinged with grievance. "Classmate Julia, you've been avoiding me all this time. Can't you give me a chance to apologize and explain?" He stared intently at the eyes visible above my mask, his pupils filled with unconcealed astonishment. After careful grooming, my chestnut-colored hair cascaded over my shoulders, making my skin appear even fairer, as white as snow. "Simon, you judge people too much by their appearance. I disdain associating with people like you." I got into the car and closed the door. When I arrived at the scene, the huge venue was already packed with people. The audience seats were completely full, with people from various high schools holding up banners in support of their own schools. The cheerleading performances from each school were incredibly impressive. The girls showcased their youth and vitality, their faces beaming with the unique, radiant smiles of their age. When it was our school's turn to take the stage, the lively venue suddenly became much quieter. Someone screamed, "Isn't that Julia? I saw her online, and she's even more beautiful in person." That campus belle ranking on social media, her votes have been soaring non-stop. I can't take it, I'm going to vote too. That's when I found out that someone at school had posted about me online, and I was even included in some campus belle ranking. As we took our positions on the stage, the cheers from the audience grew even more enthusiastic. "Oh my God, she's so beautiful it's making me cry. She's like a fairy, a celestial sister." I'm about to fall at the goddess's feet. Can the goddess accept a girl? I'm a woman. Move aside, don't cause trouble. Julia, goddess, I love you. Give me an autographed photo later, I'll bring my whole family to vote for you. Someone else shouted, "Hey, which school are you from? Why are you siding with outsiders?" But their voice was quickly drowned out by an even louder wave of noise. "Mind your own business. I'm cheering for my goddess no matter what." Out of the corner of my eye, I caught the flash of a camera. Turning my head, I met the gaze of Simon, who looked apologetic behind the lens. He mouthed to me, "Beautiful, keep it up." Our performance was a great success. Simon also lived up to expectations and led the team all the way to the finals. Unfortunately, during the championship match, he suddenly seemed lost in thought for some reason and made a pitching error. In the end, they regrettably missed out on the championship. After stepping down, Simon came up to me with damp eyelashes, his dark hair falling across his forehead. "Julia, I lost." Suddenly I remembered when we participated in a competition together years ago, and you handed me water back then. I was blind back then, but now I'm cured. I dropped that line and went backstage alone to change. Just as I entered the locker room and closed the door, a sharp knife suddenly pressed against my waist from behind. "If you want to die, don't make a sound. Take me to your home and give me all your intimate clothing." The voice was low and hoarse, and I immediately recognized it as Bella's voice. Even now, she still refuses to give up, clinging to the dream of getting something for nothing with the system. "Bella, actually your facial features aren't bad at all. If you just exercise more and lose some weight, you can become beautiful. As for your grades, as long as you're willing to work hard, they'll improve too. Your future can still be very bright." I tried to slow my tone, attempting to calm her down, yet the knife pressed even closer against me. "Shut your mouth. You have a perfect face, an outstanding family background, a clever mind. Of course you wouldn't understand the pain of someone like me. My family was poor. When I was a child and got sick, my grandmother took me to an unlicensed clinic in the village for treatment. They injected me with hormones, which turned me into this. Since then, I've endured cold stares and ridicule all my life. You make it sound so easy, but I don't want to live another day like that." I could feel the tip of the knife piercing my skin. Bella had completely lost her mind. "Julia, blame your bad luck. Who made you the only one willing to lend me something back then? I originally just wanted to exchange for an ordinary person's fate, but I ended up running into you. Ha 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 ha. So you'll just have to live in hell in my place." Just as she was taking me out disguised as a staff member, Simon came over with a large bouquet of flowers, intending to confess his feelings to me. He noticed something was wrong. "Julia, where are you going? Aren't you coming back to school with us?" Bella forced me to quicken my pace. "You still won't talk to me?" Simon frustratedly placed the flowers on the ground, but the next second, he suddenly rushed over, trying to save me. Yet he was fast. Bella was faster, already thrusting the knife straight toward me. Simon instinctively reached out to block. The blade pierced through his palm, blood gushing out instantly. Bella was startled, and I seized the moment to kick her away hard while screaming for help. The venue descended into chaos. Staff immediately dialed 911 and an ambulance. Bella was subdued but still let out the snarls of a trapped beast. It wasn't until Simon was lifted onto the stretcher that he weakly opened his eyes, smiled at me, and said, "Everyone loves perfection, Julia, give me a chance. I truly will protect you." Everyone adores beautiful flowers, but what about the simple tweed? Do they then lose their meaning and value of existence? The world is vibrant precisely because it is composed of all kinds of vivid lives. Every flower, every person, possesses their own unique beauty and an irreplaceable distinctiveness. We all shine brightly in our own little worlds. Simon, I pursed my lips, maybe there's nothing wrong with you liking beautiful things, it's just that we're not a good match. Please go to the hospital and get proper treatment. In the end, Simon's powerful parents personally rushed over. They packed up Simon's belongings and also pressured the school to expel Bella from her studies. She was sentenced to imprisonment for attempted murder. I thought to myself, even in prison, someone would surely take good care of her. Simon's parents made a point of meeting with me before they left, asking about my future plans. Classmate Julia, I heard you're quite popular online now. Are you planning to enter the entertainment industry in the future? According to Simon, you're truly outstanding. Even if you enter the entertainment industry, you could make a name for yourself, if possible. We'd be willing to support you. Thank you for your kindness, uncle and aunt. But I plan to follow the usual steps and complete my studies first, focusing on getting into my ideal university. I answered sincerely, and they exchanged a glance, both understanding that Simon and I had no chance together. In this restless world of fame and fortune, everyone seems to have shallow vision, only seeing the surface, unwilling to look beyond the exterior to touch what lies deeper within. However, I have always firmly believed that what truly supports a person to go further is never this superficial shell. Courage, determination, and passion are the precious qualities a girl should truly possess. Perhaps appearances may fade with time, but the essence of kindness only becomes more vibrant with the passage of years. In the end, I am who I am, regardless of anything else. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.